Good afternoon and welcome to Midday Report here on TVP World. I'm your host, Marie Cato. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy held a telephone conversation on Wednesday with Finnish President Alexander Stubb. Zelenskyy said that Russia is currently sending negative signals regarding potential peace talks and is continuing its attacks on Ukraine. Kyiv confirms that Russia has entered the key Dnipropetrovsk region, but denies that its forces have taken 2 villages and says that the Russian advance into the area has been halted.
According to Ukrainian military officials, this was Moscow's first large-scale attack in the region. Moscow has claimed since June that an offensive had been launched in the area from territory held in the Donetsk region. Moscow hasn't made any claims on the Dnipropetrovsk, unlike other eastern regions like Luhansk, Zaporizhia, Kherson, and Donetsk.
It's the iron entrance to not just Ukraine, but to Europe. If you were to break through into Sloviansk, if you were to break through into Kramatorsk, which the Russians tried and attempted and briefly held in 2014, so we're talking 11 plus years now, then everything else will fall. It's known that this is the key strategic entry path for Russia to attack Europe and the rest of Ukraine. And for it not to have fallen in 11 plus years, that's why Putin is having to grovel to President Trump, having to grovel to his handlers in China to say, hey, please give me Donetsk Oblast, all of it, because we can't take it.
Thank you.
President Trump's patience seemed to be nearing its limit as Russia continues to delay progress in the peace negotiations. Earlier this week, Trump said that Vladimir Putin does not want to meet with President Volodymyr Zelenskyy because he dislikes him.
It's very personal from their standpoint. There's tremendous dislike personally between the two men.
The U.S. president previously said that he would prefer not to attend a potential meeting between the leaders of Ukraine and Russia. On Tuesday, he claimed he is prepared to impose economic sanctions against Russia if Vladimir Putin fails to agree to a ceasefire, warning of serious consequences.
I got to get them both at the same time. But I want to have it end. We have economic sanctions. I'm talking about economic, because we're not going to get into a world war.
Also, President Volodymyr Zelenskyy announced the same day that Ukraine will contact representatives of other countries this week to increase diplomatic pressure on Russia.
Now, this week, there will be contacts with Turkey, contacts with the Gulf countries, with European countries, which can be platforms for negotiations with the Russians. From our side, everything will be as ready as possible to end the war. It is important that the partners confirm this, and in the future, everything will depend solely on the will of world leaders, primarily the United States of America, to put pressure on Russia. New steps are needed, new pressure, sanctions, tariffs. All this must be on the table.
In the coming days, more updates are expected as U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff has said that he will meet with representatives from Ukraine in New York this week, adding that Washington continues to talk with Russia as the United States seeks an end to Moscow's war in Ukraine.
Donald Trump's steep 50% tariffs on India have kicked in weeks after the U.S. president issued an executive order imposing an additional 25% penalty on India over its purchases of Russian oil and weapons. This makes India one of Washington's strongest partners in the Indo-Pacific, among the countries hit with the highest tariffs in the world.
India previously faced a 25% tariff from Washington. That was recently doubled by U.S. President Donald Trump as a penalty for purchasing Russian oil and weapons.
About 30% of the Indian exports are exempted. There will be no tariffs on them. These are petroleum products and smartphones, pharmaceutical products, APIs, etc. So there is no tariff on them.
But Indian traders view the tariffs as unfair.
So everybody knows that China is a bigger buyer than India. Europe and America both buy so many materials from Russia. And we read that one of the American companies, Standard Oil, they are thinking of buying Russian oil fields.
Tariffs were imposed on China too, 50, 100%, but they negotiated and it was reduced, and their problem was sorted. We were hoping for the same, but it seems unlikely.
Local traders are already feeling the effects of the new tariffs.
Whatever orders we had from the US are now null. Customers have told us to halt previous orders. Several orders have been put on hold and some orders have been cancelled. This has created instability in some factories. I think the tariffs will have a far-reaching impact in the future.
But some choose to remain hopeful.
Each time, while the Indian economy was impacted, we managed to weather the storm and come out stronger out of that storm.
Keep your seat.
Despite the close relationship between India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Trump, Indian authorities fear Washington's new duties will threaten thousands of small exporters and jobs across the country.
Thank you very much.
Journalists are no longer barred from U.S. President Trump's cabinet meetings. In his second term in office, the events are broadcast live in their entirety. The president's most recent meeting was a festival of success stories. But what's more striking than the long list of the administration's alleged achievements is the language used to communicate them.
This is a meeting of Donald Trump's closest advisors, or, as the official White House source puts it, the greatest cabinet of all time. The lengthy televised gatherings feature a distinct form of rhetoric.
This is just such a great opportunity really to recognize your leadership as a true champion for working people.
Everyone knows there's no stronger advocate for hardworking American families than you.
Today, the average family and individual that lives in this country is safer than they've been in years because of what you've done.
The praise for the US president seems to be in infinite supply during these meetings.
God bless your efforts. God bless your assembly of this team around this table. We're bringing the American dream back.
Mr. President, I invite you to see your big, beautiful face on a banner in front of the Department of Labor.
And there's only one thing I wish for, that Nobel Committee finally gets its act together and realizes that you are the single finest candidate since the Nobel Peace, this Nobel Award was ever talked about, to receive that award.
But Trump himself is also keen to heap praise on his subordinates.
Fantastic job. You're doing a great job on the border. Pete, good job.
And these mutual exchanges of flattery extend beyond the cabinet meetings. Since Trump returned to the Oval Office for his second term, the room has been full of praise and cajoling, most recently from the president of South Korea.
I look forward to your meeting with Kim Jong-un and construction of a Trump Tower in North Korea and playing golf. I believe Kim Jong-un will be waiting for you.
And he's a very good guy, a very good representative for South Korea. You're an amazing country, you're a rich country.
Sometimes the praise is even lavished on entire countries, if needed. And when Trump boasts about being called the President of Europe by European leaders, it fits a victorious narrative taken straight out of a Hollywood movie.
Really new era of national success.
The bottom line is whether you like Trump or you don't like him, you can't say that he's coming and not try to deliver, and he's doing so in historic fashion.
The government is responsible for conducting foreign policy, said Prime Minister Donald Tusk, responding to a question from a TVP World journalist about the new Polish president's visit to Washington. Karol Nawrocki is scheduled to meet with Donald Trump on September 3rd. The Polish Prime Minister emphasized that his government will provide Nawrocki with recommendations and instructions.
The government is responsible for conducting foreign policy. The president represents Poland abroad, and the government provides him with recommendations when necessary. Together with the Foreign Ministry and Minister Sikorski, we have given the president our instructions ahead of his trip to Washington. President Nawrocki and I have agreed to meet before his departure to discuss the details. It's the government's responsibility to plan our country's foreign policy, which we then submit to the president and his office.
Denmark's Foreign Minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen says alleged attempts by U.S. citizens with ties to Donald Trump's administration to conduct covert influence operations in Greenland are completely unacceptable. Public broadcaster DR cited unnamed sources as saying the government believed at least 3 Americans had been involved in influence operations aimed at promoting Greenland's secession from Denmark to the United States. Rasmussen has summoned the top U.S. diplomat in Denmark for talks.
It is important that we gain some insight into this, so that our populations both in Greenland and in Denmark also know what it is that we may risk being up against. This is inherently completely unacceptable, and therefore, in light of the information that has emerged, I have decided that we will summon the American chargé d'affaires. The purpose of that conversation is, of course, clear, partly to communicate what we know. You can say that, and make it very, very clear to the US that to the extent that there should be official participation in sanctioning or otherwise having a hand in what could be described as influence campaigns, it is in violation of all international rules. But of course, it is also about signalling what we know about these things.
And now we go to Serbia, where the country has been rocked by almost 10 months of student protests over government corruption after a deadly collapse of a canopy at a railway station in Novi Sad. Our correspondent Don Arleth is in Belgrade with the latest. Good afternoon, Don. Where do both sides of the conflict stand right now, the students and the government? And can we expect any developments in the days to come?
Yes, good afternoon, Marie. So after these violent incidents that we saw in Novi Sad and the west of the country just about 10 days ago, where we saw instances of police brutality, brutal crackdowns on protesters, but also protesters' violence against the ruling party offices in those locations. Of course, right now we're kind of at a standoff between the president, Alexander Vučić, and the protesters. Alexander Vučić inviting the leaders of the protesters to come on to national TV on a national platform to go ahead and voice their concerns and have a substantive policy debate. Of course, he had an interview with Euronews about 2 days ago describing the situation and how he wants to deal with it. Let's hear it.
This was not my first call. Actually, it was my, I don't know, fifth or sixth call for a dialogue, for an open conversation. But what was the difference this time? I offered something that I saw because they reacted swiftly, but in a way nervously. I don't know why. I offered them even an open TV debate. They can pick the premise, they can pick the studio. I'll be able to go wherever they say.
Now, the protesters have rejected this notion of appearing on TV with President Alexander Vučić. Actually, they're saying they don't have much to talk to him about. They want him to have snap elections immediately. The only problem with that is there's no apparent leadership from the side of these protests that could win an election. So this remains to be seen exactly how the leadership of this movement will pan out. Now back to you, Marie.
Many thanks, Don Arleth, updating us from Belgrade, Serbia. The 82nd edition of the Venice Film Festival gets underway Wednesday evening. The event will play host to Hollywood stars George Clooney, Julia Roberts and Dwayne Johnson, and directors Guillermo del Toro and Catherine Bigelow, who all have films debuting over the next 10 days.
A kiss for the crowd as the Venice Film Festival host Emanuela Fanelli arrives by launch. She's welcomed by festival director Alberto Barbera, who has promised a wealth of cinematic debuts and highlighted how the industry is changing.
Of course, we are witnessing an accelerating process of change in the way films are produced and conceived. And then we're on the eve of a huge revolution, the introduction of artificial intelligence, even in the creative processes of cinema.
George Clooney will return to Venice with Noah Baumbach's J. Kelly, in which he plays a middle-aged movie star on a journey through Europe with his manager, played by Adam Sandler. Clooney's longtime friend Julia Roberts will be making her Venice debut with After the Hunt. They're just a few of the Hollywood names due to appear over the next 10 days. The festival opens on Wednesday night with Paolo Sorrentino's La Grazia. The star-studded event will run through to September the 6th.
Pop sensation Taylor Swift has announced her engagement to her football superstar partner Travis Kelce. The pair made the announcement on social media, with fans looking to the details of Taylor Swift's ring and the couple's engagement story.
The news spread fast, and Swifties, Taylor's devoted fans, spared no excitement.
I couldn't be more excited. I feel like my friends just got engaged, and this is the best news I've heard all week. I can't wait.
I'm super excited. I think one thing that I'm most excited about is that Jason Kelsey's kids get to call Taylor Aunt Tay, and I'm ready for Travis and Taylor to have kids. I'm so excited.
Industry seniors say the fans' input on Swift's personal life is not a novelty.
She has shared her life throughout her entire career, through her songs, not always explaining who the songs are about, but everyone, is able to guess. And so, we feel like we've been part of her personal life in a way.
And the Swifties agree.
I've been a Swiftie since I was 6 years old, so I've seen her go through all the relationships and breakups and always come out on top and happy.
Taylor Swift sells out world stadium tours. Her albums and merch sell better than hotcakes. Her fiancé won the biggest US sports events, the Super Bowl. They are modern American royalty.
I feel like it's kind of a royal wedding for America that we're going to see. We've never seen anything quite like this, I don't think, in terms of people coming together from different worlds who are just superstars in those worlds.
The wedding is likely to top social events of the century charts. It might be tricky to make the guest list, but Swifties are not ones to lose hope.
I love you so much, girl, and please invite me to your wedding.
And on that note, that was Midday Report. Thanks for being with us, and stay tuned for more on TVP World. Goodbye.